now ends. We resume our regular meeting. Members' motion with no legislative effect. Mr. Kenneth LAU will move a motion on improving the transport networks of the new territories to cater for the development of the Northern Metropolis. Two members will move amendments to the motion. This council will proceed to a joint debate on the motion and the amendments. Later, I'll first call upon Mr. Kenneth LAU to speak and move the motion, and I will call upon Ms. Chen Yuet-ming and Mr. Chung-hung to speak in sequence, but they may not move the amendments at this stage. The joint debate now begins. Members who wish to speak, please press the request to speak button. I now call upon Mr. Kenneth LAU to speak and move the motion. President, I move that the motion as printed on the agenda be passed. In 2021's policy address, the government proposed the development of the Northern Metropolis, which will have an area over 300 hectares, equivalent to the size of 4 Hong Kong islands, covering Tin Shui Wai, Fanling, and Shengshui, and other developed new towns. There will also be 6 new NDAs, Kutong North, Fanning North, Hong Shui Q, Ha Chun, Yunnan, Fentian, Ha Chun, and also the new towns. The completed Northern Metropolis will have 190,000 residential units and another 650,000 jobs. And it will be the active growth areas for Hong Kong in the coming 10 years. It can be regarded as the largest development since the reunification. Now, for the Northern Metropolis and the Harbour Metropolis, they are at 2 poles of the territory. They cover 7 cross-boundary control points, and it's very important for promoting integration between Hong Kong and Shenzhen and for the GBA development. So we need a proper transport network, and we must adopt an infrastructure-led development concept. The government has said that for the Northern Metropolis, the railway will be the backbone. We will have the Northern Link and also the extensions that will be the east-west alignment. However, they will not be completed before population intake. Now, take the Northern Link as example. The first stage will be Kutong Station. It will start construction this year for completion in 2007. And Kam Shang Lo Station and Kutong Station in between, there will be the Shantin Station. Works will start in 2025 for completion in 2034. Kutong and Shantin are now rural areas. Residents rely on the Fanning Highway and Shantin Highway. There is no other traffic infrastructure. With the development of Kutong and also Shantin and also Lok Ma Chau, more and more people will move into the area, and the Northern Link spur line will be the major infrastructure, and there will be 7,400 PRH units. Population will start in 2025. And Kutong Station is one of the projects proposed in LDS 3. It was planned to start in 2018 for commissioning in 2023. Unfortunately, it has yet to be built. Now, there are over 20,000 households going to live here. So for many years, they will not be supported by railway transport. Do you think this is really an infrastructure-led development concept? And as for the Northern Link spur line, it will start from Shenzhen Huangguang and then to Shenzhen. It will facilitate transport between Hong Kong and Shenzhen and will facilitate people working in Shenzhen. Now, for Northern Metropolis, we will have INT development. There will be a few structures completed within here, providing 48,000 jobs. Shantin Station is at a very strategic location. However, the Northern Link spur line has yet to have a construction timetable. That means for first stage of the Hong Kong INT Park, it again will not be served by any railway. Now, for Kutong extension to Lower Women Kam To and Fanning North and covering Hung, Yunhuai, Takuling, etc. In end of 2021, 30,000 people moved into the Queens Hills. However, they're not served by railway again, and then they have to suffer traffic congestion every day traveling to work. Now, for the eastward extension of the Northern Link Spur line, again, there is no planning yet, and it was planned that it would start operation in 2020. But then we are not giving them sufficient support. These are the major transport infrastructure projects, and yet they are not able to be completed on time. The government must review the timetable for building these structures. They should be gazetted as soon as possible so that the main line can be commissioned as soon as possible to serve the needs of the residents and local development. Before completion of the railways, the government should widen the rural roads there to enhance connectivity between the rural areas and our urban areas. The Northern Metropolis is an important development of Hong Kong and is an indispensable project for development of the GBA. President Xi would want us to expedite the establishment of the GBA to facilitate the flow of people and goods. So the government should complete the internal links for Northern Metropolis, and the cross-boundary traffic links should also be completed as soon as possible. I'm pleased to see that Shenzhen and Hong Kong has set up a task force for expediting the transport infrastructure for linking up the two places. Now, we are going to improve the Lau border control point and also expedite the construction of the railway. One of the railways can link up Shenzhen and Hong Kong, and it will help us to seize the opportunities available under Tianhai development. Now, when it comes to cross-boundary clearance facilities, I hope we can complete them as soon as possible. The Northern Metropolis is going to take 20 years to develop, and I&T will be the major development there. It will develop in parallel with the Harbour Metropolis, and therefore the government must adopt a visionary approach and use the infrastructure-led development concept to create capacity there. And we must have a solid foundation for further transport infrastructure development there. Let me declare interest. Myself and my family members hold land in the NT.
I now propose the question to you that Mr. Kenneth LAU's motion be passed. Ms. Yuet-ming. Thank you, Madam Deputy. I thank Mr. Kenneth LAU for moving this motion on improving the transport networks of the new territories to cater for the development of the Northern Metropolis, so that we have an opportunity to put forward the views on improving connection between Hong Kong and Shenzhen and improving transport network in the new territories, and to urge the government to improve the planning for Northern Metropolis. I support the motion, and I hope members will support my amendments through supporting this motion and amendments today. Now, we all know that the Northern Metropolis include the New Territories North and the Yunlong area. They account for 1/3 of the entire territory, and there is a 30-kilometer long boundary along the border, covering 7 boundary control points. Now, the Shenzhen governments and the Guangdong municipal provincial governments have adopted these border control areas into the economic development blueprint. Now, I have put forth my views earlier on, and also I've moved a motion on developing the boundary control points economic belt. Now, Northern Metropolis has strategic advantages to contribute to national development. Now, with the with the establishment of a transport network, capital and goods can come. Now, this can drive developments in the Northern Metropolis. So the transport infrastructure planning is of utmost urgency. Now, on transport networks, in my amendments, I mentioned the Northern Metropolis Highway and also the Eastern Rail Line Eastern Extension. There is still room for improvement on the government's planning. Now, let me tell members a fact. Now, there are rail linking up every border control points with Shenzhen, and there are roads connecting the east to the west. In short, for the Shenzhen BCP, we can ride and park, and there are restaurants and shopping malls. On our side, however, we still have the closed area system, and along the border control points belts, there is no supporting facilities on our side. Now, in terms of railway network and also our closed area permit system, maybe the government has to revisit them all. Now, for East Rail Line, we have to give priority to Menkem Toll and Hung stations to further facilitate travel. And along with the BCP economic belt developments, we have to consider shuttlecock in our railway plans. Now, a Northern Metropolis Highway is proposed under the government's plan. However, the design under the current design, it only connects Hongshui-Kiu and Kudong. It has neglected areas in the east, including shuttlecock. Now, the area east of the Northern Metropolis would also be used for developing industries. Now, I suggest the government extending the highway from east to the west. This will improve east-west connectivity in the future and also cater for the aspiration of the stakeholders of better connectivity in the Northern Metropolis. Now, there are lots of rural roads in the Northern Metropolis. They are mostly dual-way or even single carriageway, single-lane roads. It falls short of our standard. Now, in Taguling, and the traffic congestion will continue to deteriorate. Now, according to the Secretary for Transport, the transport network will be replanned. However, the Northern Metropolis Development Strategy has been announced for more than 1 year's time, and 2 committees have been set up. Still, we don't have an action plan, and we don't have a targeted timetable. Now, we have a lot of concern concerning the developments in the Northern Metropolis, including transport network. Now, with the motion today and the amendments, I hope the government can move away from the old mindset in developing new towns. We have to adopt the infrastructure-led policy and think about the bigger perspective and improve the design of transport network in the area, and also strive for timely completion of the infrastructure. Thank you. Mr. Michael Look. Madam Deputy, I speak in support of Mr. Kenneth LAU's motion and the amendments moved by Ms. Chen Yuet-ming, and I would like to elaborate on my own amendments. Now, the key parts of my amendments are railway network issues in new territories. Now, we have to ensure that there are roads which can carry capital and goods into the area. We have to move away from old thinkings. Now, before we had the concept of Northern Metropolis, we all perceive Yunlong and new territories as backward places. Now, I have been 4 terms Yunlong District Council members. I chaired the traffic committee. Now, transport has always been a pain for residents in new territories. Now, we would travel to the urban areas to work and then caught in the traffic jam when we went home. Now, we will have 2.5 million people living in the Northern Metropolis with some 600,000 employment opportunities. So there will be balance between living and working. Now, the feeling is conflicted. Now, on one hand, residents in Yunlong and the Northern District are aspiring after the South-North dual engine, finally the area will become a major engine for economic development. However, there is the worry that the transport network cannot catch up. Now, worrying is not the concern is understandable. Say, for example, the Northern Link. It was proposed under the Railway Development Strategy in 2020. So it was proposed 30 years ago. Now, there were talks about different options, and it was also mentioned in year 2014. And then we have the studies on strategic railways and roads beyond 2030. And then the proposal was approved. It will be completed in year 2034. So it takes 34 years' time. For an ordinary person, from birth to going to school and then getting married and have a kid, and then you will see the railway. Now we have the Northern Metropolis Railway Department or the Railway Development Office. Now I hope the governments can learn from past experience to enhance speed and efficiency and catch up with lost time. Otherwise, there will be no way we can dovetail with the developments in the mainland. Now, besides railways, highways or roads are very important. We have the 18-kilometer long Northern Metropolis Highway. In the northern districts and Yuen Long, there are a lot of old highways urgently in need of capacity expansion. Now, in the past, the standard for rural roads were 5.5 meters times 5 meters width. Now it has been expanded to 7.3 meters. Now, I think Mr. Kenneth LAU will agree with me. When there is a traffic accident, the entire road would be blocked. Now, the Fanling Cam Tin Road is also in poor condition. Shangshui Road and Shuttlecock Road, Pingshe Road, Lin Ma Hang Road, and Ha Pak Nai Road. They are still very narrow. They are two-way traffic on a single lane road. So they are urgently in need of improvement. Now, we have just visited the GBA. In the mainland, they have actually implemented the principle of infrastructure-led development policy. The speed is so quick. Now, we saw some video clip. In just one weekend, the intersection transformed into an elevated intersection. Now, in a few weeks' time, the entire station can be moved to be connected with another rail. So we have to learn from the experience. Now, we have to streamline the relevant regulations, including EIA report, and also improve the compensation mechanism, and also enhance the tendering system to keep costs under control. Now, since we have improved the district administration, I hope that we can improve the transport network in the Northern District. Thank you.
Secretary for Transport and Logistics. Madam Deputy, first, I'm deeply grateful to Mr. Kenneth LAU for his motion and to Ms. Chen Yuet-ming and Mr. Michael Lok for their amendment. Thanks to them, we can have a thorough discussion of this matter of great public concern, which is improving the transport networks of the new territories to cater for the development of the Northern Metropolis. The Chief Executive pledged in his Policy Address 2022 to go all out in taking forward the Northern Metropolis. Infrastructure-led and capacity-creating planning principles will continue to be adopted for transport infrastructure. This is to unleash the development potential of new development areas. The Northern Metropolis covers 30,000 hectares or so of land in Yuen Long or the North District. New towns like Tinshui Wai, Yuen Long, Fanling, Shengshui, Hongshui, Hachun, Kutong North, Fanling North, and the rural areas nearby. The Northern Metropolis will be the base for Hong Kong's future development and a new growth engine for us to scale greater heights. We will make full use of the location of the Northern Metropolis in fostering comprehensive development of the areas around the boundary control point. On major transport infrastructure, the government is implementing various projects. The rail projects include the Northern Link, Gutong Station, the Northern Link Spur Line, Hongshui-Q Station, and the Island West Hongshui-Q Rail Link for the artificial islands in Kaoyuchao. The major roads include Route 11, Yunlong to Northern Lantau section, the Qingyi Lantau Link, the Tunmun Bypass, widening of the Yunlong Highway section between Lamtei and Tongyan Sanchun, and the Island West Northeast Lantau Link for the artificial island. Besides, the strategic studies on railways and major roads beyond 2030 also made preliminary recommendations about the Northern Metropolis. They include the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Western Rail Link, Hongshui-Q to Qianhai, the Central Rail Link, the Northern Metropolis Highway, and the Shatin Bypass. These can strengthen the east-west link of the Northern Metropolis, foster the cross-boundary integration of the Northern Metropolis and the other cities of the Greater Bay Area, and enhance connection with the Harbor Metropolis in the south. The public consultation of the study concluded in late March this year. We are carefully studying the public comments received on the proposed transport infrastructure to explore ways to enhance alignment options and conduct preliminary engineering technical assessment. Our goal is to draw up a major transport infrastructure development blueprint in the fourth quarter this year. We appreciate members' concern about the key transport infrastructure for Luowu, Menkem-to, and the Northern New Territories New Town. These points include whether the Northern Metropolis Highway will be extended to reach Hengyun-Wai and the Kongshan Western Highway, and details of the eastern extension of the Northern Link. The Civil Engineering and Development Department and the Planning Department are conducting planning and engineering studies on these development areas, and the Laofaoshan, Qinpeichi, and Pak Nai. We are working closely with the planning and engineering teams to design the necessary key transport infrastructure based on the planning intent of the land use. Our goal is to finalize the proposed alignment of the transport infrastructure while the land use planning is being worked out. On roads in district and rural areas, the government sets great store by enhancements to rural infrastructure and physical improvements to rural areas. Several departments are working together on the project. Besides, the government has been enhancing existing roads and working through the Rural Public Works Program run by the Home Affairs Department to improve roads for vehicular traffic. This is to make traveling easier for local residents. There will be engineering and planning studies for various projects under the Northern Metropolis. Project teams will give due consideration to the transport and logistic needs of these projects and their potential impact on the traffic nearby. Suitable measures will be proposed to improve the overall transport network of the areas under development. I will now join the Undersecretary for Development in listening closely to the speech of each member and give a reply later. Thank you, Madam Deputy.
Mr. Kenneth LAU. Thank you, Madam Deputy. On today's motion moved by Mr. Kenneth LAU, that is to improve the transport networks of the new territories to cater for the developments of the Northern Metropolis. The purpose is to enhance the connectivity between Hong Kong and Shenzhen. I fully support it. I also have some suggestions for the government. Now, to achieve full utilization of land and achieve smooth flow of goods and wealth, we have to ensure a good transport network. Now, we have an edge in this. Now, according to international survey, in terms of public transport network, we rank the first in terms of efficiency. Now, the Northern Metropolis will be our major area of development, so we have to ensure that there is an infrastructure-led development principle. Now, the crux is whether the issue is whether the government has a comprehensive planning on land use. Now, there are several suggestions. Now, on the connectivity with the HK SITP, the Hong Kong Shenzhen Innovation and Technology Park, the first phase will be completed in 2024. Now, the nearest station is the Lok Ma Chau station, and there are not a lot of departures from the station. And you have to take another ride to go to the HK SITP, so it is quite indirect. Now, The proximity with our tertiary education institutions is also very important. So we have to speed up the construction of transport network serving the HKSITP. Now, the second point is Sandy Ridge. Now, we are always concerned about the arrangements for the columbarium there. It will also be connected with the improved Lohu BCP. Now, if that's the case, we have to think about how to cater for the additional passenger demand during Yuet-ming Festival. Now, the development of the Northern Metropolis provides society with an opportunity to review whether the previous development direction was comprehensive enough. Now, the Fanling Golf Course is one such example. Now, under the Northern Metropolis developments, the golf course will still be served by the Fanling Camteen Highway. Now, this is a very narrow road. It is already close to capacity, and there is always congestion. Now, if high-density housing is built nearby, the situation will be exacerbated. Now, there are lots of tournaments held in the Fanling Golf Course, and we have a local Hong Konger winning the championship in golf course. And also, according to the EIA report, there is rich ecosystem in the Fanling Golf Course. I also want to take my family members to see the owls there. Now, I think we have to make the golf course a spotlight project with entertainment, sports, and conservation components. Now, the Northern Metropolis is very important. This is the planning stage. We have to plan ahead to make sure that the transport network can dovetail with the developments. And also, we have to look further ahead and be forward-looking. I hope the Secretary for Transport and Logistics and the Secretary for Development can promise us that there will be a comprehensive planning so that everything will be fine. I so submit, I declare interest. My family members have properties in the area.
Mr. Chen Kim-po. Well, traffic is always a problem. Hong Kong, if we ride the bus, we face traffic congestion, and the MTR trains are so congested. And if we can have a good infrastructure network, then people will be happier. With the completion of Northern Metropolis, a lot of people will move there. Under the infrastructure-led development concept, we must start with the transport network there. We must not repeat the planning mistake made in Tin Shui Wai New Town. I thank Mr. Lau for moving this motion. Now, the Northern Metropolis is very important in Hong Kong, and therefore the traffic planning should have the whole of Hong Kong in mind. It should link up the harbour metropolis as well as the Khao Yi Chau artificial islands so that we can really realize the plan of integrating with the GBA. Now, the government has got some ideas about the transport planning. Now, for already approved project, we have the Northern Link spur line. It will link up the East Rail line and the Tuen Mun line. And then there is one linking up Tianhai and Hong Shui Kiu Ha Chun. And then there is also the East Rail Link extension to Lohu South, and also Kennedy and Kun and Kowloon Tong. We've also got the Kutong North Highway and Sha Tin Road. In fact, the planning is more or less comprehensive. We are connected to Tianhai. There will be new railways and new highways, and also a connection with Kowloon. And we should have a network that link up Northern Metropolis and Harbour Metropolis so that there can be easy accessibility and speedy accessibility to all three CBDs. Now, there is a reason report, and we have to build the north-south bound railway from Norwood to Mayfu South. So using X-ray, we can reach Shamjan, and then Mayfu will be the major interchange to reach the other parts of Hong Kong. I think this consultancy report doesn't conflict with the government's plan. It will complement the government's original plan. Of course, this is not perfect. The government can consider other feasible options. I just want to point out that in taking forward further transport planning, the government must link up the old and new development areas so that our core CBDs can be connected to other cities in GBA. Of course, tremendous investment will be involved, and we rely on such investment to promote the development of GBA, and it's also an important part in the country's overall development. The Northern Metropolis should develop external traffic links, and it should take care of the traffic needs of the NT. In the northern part of the NT, there are still all rural areas with sparse population. We haven't got sufficient planning for them, and there is a lack of road connections. They are not really suitable for large-scale development. The Northern Metropolis is almost finalized on the drawing board, and therefore we must revamp the transport planning for the whole of NT. Thank you. Mr. Lau Kwok Fan. Thank you, Madam Deputy. I speak in support of Mr. Kenneth LAU's motion on improving the transport networks of the NT to cater for the development of the Northern Metropolis. The government has this planning strategy of being infrastructure-led to create capacity. I'm all for this idea, but I hope this is not just an empty slogan. It must be realized. We talked about having an infrastructure-led development concept, but as of today, it is still just a slogan. In fact, this is not something new. When developing pastel towns, we have this TOD approach. First, we develop the station, and then residential development and all sorts of activities will radiate from that station. We adopted a similar model in developing new towns in the past, but then it seems that development has somehow halted. The NT had the Fanning New Town completed 3 decades ago. Back then we have One East Rail and also the Tolo Highway. 30 years have elapsed. We still have only got the One East Rail and also One Tolo Highway. It seems that we have stood still for the past 3 decades. I'm sure residents in Yunnan, Tin Shui Wai, and Tuen Mun share my feeling. They moved into new towns. They were more or less pioneers there. There was no supporting community facilities, and it was very inconvenient for them to travel to the urban areas for work. To ensure we have infrastructure-led development, we must change this mode of being demand-led. We must plan well ahead. For instance, for the 3 railways and 3 roads, the government has already got a proposal. From our point of view, it's still neither here nor there. If really want to have 3 railways and 3 roads for the Northern Metropolis, I think we're only covering parts of the road networks from Tin Shui Wai to future Ma Chau Long. In East NT, we still have the Hong Shui Kiu Ha Chun development, and in the east, Shuttlecock Ta Kuling new development area. We must enhance transport planning for the Northern Metropolis. We're told that they have only done it halfway, and they need further planning. But I think you should start with transport planning. and take the Shatin bypass as example. Perhaps it can be improved. The west is better developed. We have the Tuen Mun Highway and Route 19 and Route 3. And in the eastern part, we've only got the Tolo Highway and also Shatin bypass. Can we have a new north-south trunkway going through Takuling, leading to Taipo Industrial Area? There should be a cross-bay link to the Science Park and Mount Anshan, and then to the urban areas. And another point is about the time frame. Take the Northern Link spur line as example. It is an important infrastructure for Northern Metropolis. It would start in 2024 for completion in 2034. So only 6 stations for such a short alignment. It takes more than 30 years. For Samjiang Railway, from 2004 to now, there are now already 12 lanes and over 200 stations. They only took 18 years to complete more than 200 stations and 14 alignments. It has taken us 30 years to build a rail link of only 4 kilometers. Now, population intake may start in 2030, and if we can only have the spur line built in 2034, then that is too far behind. We must revisit our infrastructure time frame. Thank you. Ms. Zhou Chen. Thank you, Madam Deputy. I thank Mr. Kenneth LAU for his motion on improving the transport network of the NT to cater for the development of the Northern Metropolis. I speak in support of the original motion because the advanced works will include roads and sewage facilities, etc. And it is the CE's manifesto in 2022 that he should adopt an infrastructure-led development concept. Now, let me use the example of Kai Tak development area to illustrate my point. After many years of planning and preparation, there is still a lot to be desired in the Kai Tak development area. Some members of DAB have suggested that infrastructure like Sky Shuttle should be introduced into the Kai Tak development area. Now we are in a new chapter. Last year's policy address proposes to do a strategic study on major 3 strategic railways and 3 trunk roads for the NT so that we can have a comprehensive railway and road network, and that will lay a solid foundation for the development of the Northern Metropolis. It will enable us to better integrate with the overall development of the country. So I speak in support of Ms. Yuet-ming's amendment and Mr. Chung-hung from FTU as well. I'd like to comment further on Ms. Yuet-ming's amendment. In the original motion, it is said in some of our rural areas we don't have enough road connections. And the amendment has further pointed out that some of the rural roads are in fact substandard. This goes to show that the existing transport network is far from adequate, and this must not be overlooked. To encourage the community to support infrastructure projects to let them have a sense of gain and happiness, the government must have this sense. We must improve the current transport network. Let me give you an example. I'm grateful to the administration for accepting FTU's suggestion, and that is there should be a railway linking up Kwai Chung and Kowloon Tong that is a central rail link, so that even for Kwai Chung we can be served with a north-south alignment railway. The central rail link should not just stop at Kwai Chung covering Shek Lane. It should also include Tsuen Wan East as its catchment. Tsuen Wan East was a new town. Now, Lei Mok Shi Estate was built next to a slope, and many residents have to take shuttle buses in order to reach the railway stations. It was assessed that a few old PRH estates had potential for redevelopment. Lei Mok Shue Estate, which was built in 1975, was among those PRH estates. The government should take this opportunity to enlarge the catchment area of the railway. We suggest that we should have an East Rail station at Chunwan East to benefit at least 30,000 people living there. Is this feasible? Technically speaking, together with Mr. Gary Zhang, we have proposed the following. As a matter of alignment, it is feasible. And if we can dovetail with the redevelopment of Lei Mok Shue Estate, then we can improve the traffic issues of the current neighborhood. Now, I am a directly elected member of Kwai Chung. I have already completed research and engagement of the residents there. Hopefully, this can be done to give our community a stronger sense of gain, happiness, and security. With these remarks, I support the motion and all the amendments. Thank you.
Dr. Low Wai Kwok. Madam Deputy, I thank Mr. Kenneth LAU for moving the motion and Mr. Michael Look and Ms. Chen Yuet-ming for their amendments. Madam Deputy, in 2021, the government proposed the Northern Metropolis strategy covering Tinshui, Wai, Yunlong, Fanning, Shengshui areas that are already developed, new towns, as well as the nearby rural areas. The Northern Metropolis will be part of Hong Kong's development in the next 20 years or more. We will see more population growth. The Northern Metropolis also features 7 land crossings. This will help our integration into the Greater Bay Area and our links with Shenzhen. The strategy features railways as the backbone. There will be a Hongshui-Q to Shenzhen rail link. There will also be Northern Link Spur Line, Northern Link Eastern Extension. There will be Lower South Station and Chinpei Chou to Park Nai. There will be an automated people mover. Mr. John Lee stressed it will be infrastructure-led and capacity-creating. For me and our sector, we support it. Some time ago, back in December last year, there was a public consultation of the strategic studies on railways and roads in 2030. The consultation has wrapped up. There will be a blueprint on Hong Kong's transport infrastructure. Now, apart from the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Western Rail Link, there will also be something for Yunlong and Canton. There will be the Central Rail Link, and there will also be a link from Tinshui Wai in the west and all the way to the east, the Northern Metropolis Highway. Once the railways and the highways are all done, we will see a transformation in the transport links in the new territories. But the government should remain humble and listen to what people in the new territories have to say, show forward thinking, enhance the traffic planning. That's how we can get it right with the planning for the Northern Metropolis. Madam Deputy, with good planning, how do we implement the plans in an orderly way? That's a challenge. Let's remember the lessons from the past. There was a 2014 railway development strategy that was supposed to be completed in 2031. We were supposed to see a number of rail links. There were estimate roadmaps, Northern Link, Kutong Station. It was supposed to be in 2023 and it was supposed to be completed to tie in with the population intake, but the latest estimate is that it will take all the way to 2027 before the Kutong Station will be completed. By that time, the population intake will have been done. When can people there expect the rail link? For the Northern Link, we won't see completion until 2034, a delay of a good 11 years. For these rail projects, I chased up the government. I care deeply about how the government can ensure the plans will be delivered. Infrastructure-led must not descend into an empty slogan or a lie. Madam Deputy, the construction sector is worried about the worker shortage. The Construction Industry Council released a report in February this year, pointing to a serious shortage at various levels in the trade. For professionals, we're short of 4,000 professionals. There's a Northern Metropolis, and also there are railway major road projects that would be completed. There's a gap in workers for infrastructure projects. I'm pleased to see that the government, a couple of days ago, I'm pleased to see the government announce an expansion to the talent list. The professions covered will go up from 13 to 51. And it will apply immediately to the talent admission scheme, the general employment policy, and also the admission schemes of mainland talent. The new professions include development and construction specialists, civil engineering, building services, and also electrical and mechanical services specialists. It also covers land surveyors, landscaping, town planning, etc. The basic requirements: a university degree and 3 years of relevant work experience. Meanwhile, we need to step up training of local talent. So we have to take a range of measures to boost the supply of manpower. We need the talent. We need to work together to grow the pie, Madam Deputy. We are taking forward a number of major projects at the same time. The government needs to let us know the financing well ahead. The BPA believes a bond issuance can be done. The government should also consider other financing schemes. Ms. Dr. Low, your time's up. Please stop. Mr. Andrew Lam. Thank you, Madam Deputy. I thank Mr. Kenneth LAU for his motion. I speak in support of the motion and also the 2 amendments. The Northern Metropolis will be a new growth engine for the economy. It's in line with our 14th Five-Year Plan and also the Outline Development Plan for the Greater Bay Area. We have to live up to our country's expectations. Now, the planning principles of the Northern Metropolis, it's about creating capacity, enhancing the use of space and planning, bringing tech firms here, urban-rural integration, conservation, providing eco-recreational space. All these are things we should take seriously. Infrastructure-led capacity creating, these are the principles in the Chief Executive's election manifesto and the pledge in the Chief Executive's policy address. We should not only honor that in the new development areas, we should also apply that to the rural-urban integration and conservation. Simply put, urban residents should have access to power, water, Wi-Fi, flushing, restaurants. So what about rural areas? Do people in rural areas don't need access, or do tourists need no such services? Capacity creating infrastructure-led, that's supply-driven. That's what we need. We shouldn't start considering the transport support only after people move in. The Northern Metropolis will be one of the key engines driving our future development. Let us not ignore the twin cities in the 3 circles, and certainly not ignore the transport links there. Take conservation and development seriously. But what for rural areas? The government simply looks at the current demand and look at the cost effectiveness. The result is that a lack of infrastructure, land left idle, people move out of rural areas. So where you could have seen more vitality, vibrancy, and potential for tourism, and I'm talking about rural areas, they were left idle. That stifles rural development. The original motion mentions that in the new territories, the transport network is underdeveloped. Some rural areas lack roads. They are hard-pressed to tie in with the Northern Metropolis development. With the Northern Metropolis, we should review all the double standards we applied in the past. With the metropolis, we should adopt rural-urban integration and do both development and conservation. The government has the Lantau Conservation Fund and also Rural Conservation Subsidy Scheme. There's a $1 billion Lantau Conservation Fund and also the Rural Conservation Advisory Committee to take forward the conservation efforts, and also there are rural minor works programs to support the conservation efforts. Many works projects and studies have already been done. Others are underway or about to start. I hope the government can pick up the pace, crack on with the work, improve the rural environment. There's a film on a shoestring budget led to many people visiting an ancient village. But as far as I know, an individual department is driving revitalization, but other departments stay in their silos. And there are all kinds of hurdles, barriers, preventing the revitalization of rural areas. People may take an interest in ancient villages, but then after a while, the interest becomes a fad that fades away. I hope the government can take Northern Metropolis and then all the projects with Lantau, promote that among various departments. I believe the government should take the initiative, take seriously conservation and development, work with everyone in the community. That way, the Northern Metropolis and other areas in Hong Kong can become a livable place that's also attractive to tourists. Mr. Eric Yim. Madam Deputy, the Northern Metropolis will be the most important part of our future development. It will be a growth engine providing momentum for our development. The Northern Metropolis is next to Shenzhen. That's important for the one-hour living circle and the work circle. The principle is to have infrastructure first. I thank Mr. Kenneth LAU for his motion. I also want to focus the following 3 areas. I want to know how they're coming along. First, on the route, we need to go deeper, enhance the existing transport network. The Northern Metropolis will cover 30,000 hectares of land. It covers New Territories West to all the way to New Territories East. There is a boundary economic belt. In Shenzhen, they have seen many years of development. They have well-developed infrastructure. They have express rail link, metro, urban highways. They have a well-developed layout. Over here in Hong Kong, we are weaker on infrastructure. Urban transport, especially for rail, we're short on that. We have insufficient road capacity. So for cross-boundary transport infrastructure, we should prioritize enhancements to the cross-boundary transport links. Now, under the Northern Metropolis development strategy, railways will be the backbone. There will be 5 new rail projects: the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Western Rail Link, the Automated People Mover, the Northern Link Extension, the Northern Link Eastern Extension, and also connecting the East Rail Line, Shengshui Station, and Lo Station. I propose that as the government plans the railways as a backbone, the government should also explore enhancing the transport networks in the new territories, especially for rural areas without road access. Pick up the pace with the road improvement works, enhance the bus services for those areas. Now, my second point. The government should take the lead in the new development areas with regard to the early days on the transport. In new development areas or NDAs, there aren't many people there. It's hard for the traffic operators to assess passenger demand, so there's no incentive for them to enhance the services. The people living in NDAs have commuting needs, so for those areas, the government should take the lead. Plan the route, frequency, and the fares. The government should provide subsidies or cover or make up for the shortfalls, bring in operators. My third point is, for the Northern Metropolis, we need to make clear the plans and development modes for the logistics operations. For the Northern Metropolis, in the government's plan, I can hardly see anything for the logistics sector. To make sure we can enliven the boundary economic belt and also promote the logistics sector between Hong Kong and Shenzhen and in the GB as a whole, the government is taking forward rail projects and road projects. The government should also pick up the pace with the support for the logistics. Show us the plan. For example, there will be the Hong Shui Ha-Chun new development area. There will be modern services. there should be a plan for the logistics sector. So the government should adopt a new development model, encourage both public and private sectors to take part in the process to boost speed and efficiency. Madam Deputy, the Northern Metropolis we need traffic, and the traffic development will be key to the well-being of the people in the future. The government should attach due weight to this matter and create a more favorable environment with the infrastructure. I submit the motion and the amendments.
Mr. Tony Jie. Thank you, Madam Deputy. Now, I would like to first declare I'm a member on the Northern Metropolis Advisory Council chaired by the Financial Secretary. Now, however, I don't have any direct or indirect interest in the Northern Metropolis development. On the other hand, Northern Metropolis development would affect the interests of everyone in Hong Kong. Now, the sector I represent also shows a lot of concern on the developments on Northern Metropolis. It's not just about job opportunities for my sector. It's about enhancing housing supply for everyone in Hong Kong so that everyone can live bigger and more comfortably and also achieve carbon neutrality and conservation. Now, the theme of a seminar of surveyors and landscape architects was themed on Northern Metropolis development. Now, many people talk about the prospects. I, however, focused on the challenges, including the restrictions and also the impact on potential impact on stakeholders and how to consolidate different development areas under planning. Now, the most pressing challenge, however, is the transport networks development, as mentioned in the motion today. Many members mentioned the development principle of infrastructure-led and capacity building adopted by the government. 7 new railways and 3 major roads were proposed under the Northern Metropolis Development Plan. And also we have the Hong Kong Shenzhen Western Rail Link and also the Northern Rail Link, the East Rail Lines, Eastern Extension, and the automated people mover between Lo Pao Shan and Pak Nai, and also the Cross Bay routes linking up KYC, Artificial Island, and the Northern Metropolis. Now, we also have the Two Moon Bypass and also the Northern Metropolis Highway proposed in last year's policy address. So the 10 proposals sound very magnificent. They are set to improve the connectivity between the Northern Metropolis and the urban areas, and it will enhance development capacity. The problem is all 10 projects are still at the preliminary design and study stage. For some projects, there aren't even a work timetable. Now, for the first project, that is Hong Shui Kiu, next year there will be population intake. Now, the Yuen Long South and North, New Territories North, NDA will be completed soon. There is a huge gap between population intake and infrastructure completion. Now, we have to ensure that the new residents will not be cut off from the other areas. And we have to ensure that the new industries will not bring about too much pressure on the existing residents. We have to have short to medium and long-term alleviation measures in terms of transport. I look forward to hearing from the Secretary. Now, we have to speed up the construction, the progress of infrastructure projects, including streamlining the approval procedures. Now, the government has applied for the creation of many posts pitched as pitch at directorate grade to take forward the Northern Metropolis project, and then there will also be the Northern Metropolis Railway Development Office. On this, some of my constituents are concerned. They are worried that with more government officials handling the approval procedure, it may slow down the process of railway projects. We can't just rely on more manpower from the government. We have to ensure that there is the introduction of appropriate competition in terms of talents and technologies from the mainland. Now, I will not repeat my points. I so submit I support the motion and the amendments. Dr. Wendy Hong. Thank you, Madam Deputy. I speak in support of Mr. Kenneth LAU's motion and the amendments. Now, some figures. In year 2000, the government announced the Railway Development Strategy 2000, and the idea of Northern Rail Link was floated for the first time. Now, in 23 years' time, the first station, Kudong Station, will be completed in year 2027. The main route will be completed by year 2034. Now, since the first proposal to the first commencement of station, it takes 27 years, and it takes 34 years for the major rail to be completed. Where's the progress? Now, 5 railways have been proposed in year 2014, and also the 3+3 framework was announced in 2027. So there are 7 major projects. I can't imagine how many years it will take for the 7 projects to be completed. Now, the slow progress is because of the limitation in terms of the development model. For a long time, we have adopted a demand-driven or market-driven development model. Take railway development, for example. When there is not yet population intake and economic activity, the governments would not build the railway first. Now, when the population intake starts first, transport is poor, and then with a lot of complaints, the government will start building the railways. Now, we have to ensure that there is an advantage to this development model. That is, we will rarely see any white elephant projects. However, without the infrastructure-led principle, it slows down the development of the new development areas, and it is very difficult for new economic center to form. Now, I propose 3 points. We have to change the development model. We have to transition from demand-driven to vision-driven. Now, the new term government adopted the infrastructure-led and capacity-building mindset. I fully support that. However, you need planning before infrastructure can be built. And before planning, you first have to have a vision. Now, for the Northern Metropolis, we need a vision-led, planning-led, and infrastructure-led principle. Then we can change the development model completely and attract population, economic activities to the Northern Metropolis. Now, we already have a vision for the Northern Metropolis, but planning is slow. We don't have an overall planning for land use. Now, there are some new development areas, including Kudong North, Hongshui-Kiu, Hashun. These development areas have been proposed decades ago. Now, that was proposed in Mr. Tung Chee-hwa's first policy address in year 1997. It has been some 30 years. Now, we still don't have an overall blueprint for Northern Metropolis development. Now, I hope that with the vision-driven policy, we can have an overall land use planning for Northern Metropolis as soon as possible. We should adopt a brand new mindset to drive developments in the Northern Metropolis. Second, simultaneous development of industry and infrastructure. Now, this will be an INT-led zone. Now, we have to establish an INT ecosystem there and also attract enterprises to move in. So besides planning for housing, we have to start planning industry development for the Northern Metropolis so that the two can go together. 3, we have to amend legislation and enhance administrative efficiency. Now, the panel on development is recognizing the proposals to amend the 6 ordinances in relation to development. Now, with the passage of the bill, we can speed up the development process. However, this is not the only reason for the slow progress. A more important issue is the seriously inefficient administrative process. Now, the vetting, the approval departments are not too concerned about the progress. They just don't want to take up responsibility. So we have to move away from the mindset of being afraid to make mistakes and be responsible. Thank you. Mr. Frankie Yik. Madam Deputy, the Northern Metropolis has an radiating area of 300 kilometers square. From east to west, it covers the entire New Territories North. Now, there will be 2.5 million population in there with 600,000 employment opportunities. Now, we have to develop it into a livable area with tourism opportunity. Now, we have to ensure that there is an efficient transport networks. The Liberal Party supports the infrastructure-led and capacity-building development principle to take forward the infrastructure projects under the Northern Metropolis. To cater for the traffic demand of the 2.5 million people, we have to improve the transport networks. Now, the 2014 proposals of the Northern Rail Link would be commenced soon. Now, under the studies on major railways and roads beyond 2030, to take forward Northern Metropolis developments, besides the 2 major railways, the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Western Rail Link is also proposed, linking Hung Shui-Kiu and Chin Hoi, and also there will be the Central Rail Link. There is also the Northern Metropolis Highway and the Sha Tin Bypass. Now, on these infrastructure proposals, the Liberal Party supports them. We hope the government can speed up the timetable and the progress as well. Now, for the Northern Rail Link, Kutong Station and the Hung Shui-Kiu Station, the commencement timetable is further delayed. Now, the Hung Shui-Kiu Station should be completed next year. However, now it will only commence next year and completed by 2030. It will not align with the population intake of the first batch of the population. Now, it may repeat the situation back when population intake started for Chung-hung. So the government has to ensure that the public transport service providers are up to the game. Now, we cannot neglect the branch roads as well. We have to first have roads before we can have public transport for the public. So we support the original motion. That is, we have to strengthen connectivity with the rural areas and improve rural roads. To encourage usage of public transport, the government should consider dedicating a lane to public transport on certain roads so as to make the service more efficient. Now, with railway development, the government should study on how to better integrate railway service with other public transport means to ensure comprehensive growth for the transport ecosystem. Now, to cater for the enhanced traffic demand between Shenzhen and Hong Kong, we support the government in implementing the East in, East out, and West in, West out model. Now, the Shenzhen and the Lintong Hengyun Wai BCP will be operating 24 hours around the clock. Now, the Huanggang will be dedicated to passenger clearance. It will have a capacity of 250,000 passengers per day. Now, there will be much more demand for public transport because of this. Now, the government is going to build the Northern Rail Link with the Huanggang BCP. However, the timetable cannot catch up. So the government has to ensure that there will be sufficient public transport services plying between Huanggang and the BCP. Now, the Northern Metropolis will be an INT hub. However, modern logistics is closely related to INT. Where there are economic activities, we need logistics services. And INT can also drive the sustained development of the logistics industry. Now, the government is going to position the Hongshi-Hashi NDA as a modern logistics services hub. Now, to fully tap the additional demand for logistics services under the dual circulation model, in planning for the Northern Metropolis, the government should set aside more land for logistics industry development. We should learn from the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park and the Eco Park model and develop a transport network linking up the Lin Tong BCP, the Kwai Chung Container Terminal, and also the Hong Kong International Airport to strengthen our integration with the GBA. Thank you. I support the motion and the amendments.
Mr. Chen Hempen. Madam Deputy, the Northern Metropolis is the new growth engine for Hong Kong's development. NT-North will no longer be our boundary. Rather, it will be the major area for integration with Shenzhen and integration into GBA for INT development. It should be a signature project for Hong Kong in the near future. And two jurisdictions are involved with 6 administrative regions, and the development is not just to meet the demand of population growth. Rather, we need to upgrade in order to integrate with the overall development of the country. The project is unprecedented in Hong Kong. Now, when we have a new development, we must have the infrastructure ready, and in particular, we must have the transport network ready. I'm grateful to Mr. Kenneth LAU for moving this motion. While we develop the Northern Metropolis, we must improve the transport networks of the NT, and DAB supports the motion because it is consistent with the infrastructure-led development concept. There will be 5 new railways. There is the new cross-boundary railway linking up Qianhai and Shenzhen, and there will be 2 extensions, one towards the north, one towards the east of the Northern Link spur line. And there will also be an East Rail extension to the north to Lo Wu South Station. For these railway stations, I have some suggestions. First, on the operation, we understand that in railway development, time is of essence. We understand that the Northern Link spur line will be developed into 2 stages. Kutong Station takes 4 years, and the second stage of construction of 3 stations, that's going to take 3 years. Can we afford to wait that long? If MTRCL can expedite its works, we can award the project to MTRCL. If not, we should bring in new operator so that we can catch up with the time frame. And we've always adopted the conventional construction model in the building of new railways. They are expensive and timely to construct. Can we consider a new mode of development? DAB recently made a visit to the mainland. We saw the Sky Shuttle. We understand the LP and BRT in Xiamen. And in the mainland, there are different development technologies. Different modes of transport can be provided based on the needs of the local population. So instead of the conventional model adopted by MTRCL, can we adopt other modes of transport that is expeditious and cost-effective and affordable? The Northern Metropolis will be very different from previous developments. It will straddle 2 places. It is going to cross the boundary. We hope that the Central Rail Link will be an extension of the Northern Link spur line, because if we consider it as a separate rail link, then it will take longer to develop. And the Central Rail Link should also connect to Tsuen Wan so that we can have one railway system linking up different railway lines in Hong Kong to facilitate mobility. Lastly, the Northern Metropolis will have the shape of a dumbbell. Population will be either in the north or the south, with transport linking up the two. In fact, during morning peak and evening peak, we have already got people traveling to the north and coming back to the south in respectively. But we have yet to see proper planning and provision in park and ride facilities. Hopefully, in the comprehensive traffic and transport study to be published soon, we can have a good park and ride facilities proposed, and people can make good use of public transport to address the problem of traffic congestion. Thank you. Mr. Stephen Ho. Thank you, Chair. I support Mr. Kenneth LAU's motion. Now, Mr. Chen Han-pen just mentioned park and ride facilities. The concept is good, but let me add that for our railways, now the East Rail is already up to capacity, and even the West Rail is close to capacity. So we are using the same railway lines. The capacity is not going to be boosted substantially. Now we will have talents imported into Hong Kong, and because the southern part is for finance development and the northern part for INT development, perhaps the current projection by the government when it comes to traffic demand is too conservative. It's true that we have to rely on our railways as the backbone, but we still need roads for other means of public transport. I once discussed with the former Secretary for Transport and Logistics, or the former Transport Bureau. Now, I have to go through Fanning and Shamshui if I want to go to Shenzhen. And they're saying that perhaps there should be another transport link to address the congestion. Now, in other parts of the world, they always have different zones and different rings of public transport. In Hong Kong, we only got one ring. So we must address the concerns of local residents. When the SL government announced the development of Northwest or Northeast NT, the local residents organized themselves into a Yunnan Traffic and Transport Alliance. They were not concerned about the economy. They are concerned about the transport and traffic. They wanted another exit at Bok Oil roundabout, and it took them 5 years. I asked them what was the VR ratio. 1 means up to capacity. We were told that the VR ratio was 0.8, but we could experience traffic jam on a daily basis. So you see, the simulation model adopted by the administration may be too conservative. I felt that it was already 1.2, but their figure was 0.8. So the government, when it seeks funding approval from LAGCO for TNT infrastructure, they would tell us that this kind of traffic diversion can alleviate traffic congestion, but we have no confidence in your simulation model. And my second concern is Northern Metropolis should not just include road transport. There can be kaitos and ferries. It should be a place livable with also tourism development. Well, kaito licenses are typically 2 to 3 years in their term, and when you subsidize the ferry services to Changchao because it's almost a monopoly. Well, maybe you think that kaito is already out of fashion. You have to provide roads for people there. Otherwise, it's difficult for people to share the development benefits of the Northern Metropolis. Now, we don't have enough manpower for ferry operators. Those who are licensed are already over 65 years old, and if they have forgotten to renew their licenses, can they come back to take the examination again? Usually the Marine Department is very lenient, while the SL government has provided hundreds of millions of dollars for grooming of manpower. But when we have land transport planning, perhaps we should consider sea transport planning as well. Does any other member wish to speak?
劉業強議員，你現在可以就修正案發言。
多謝代主席。咁非常感謝陳月明議員同埋陸頌雄議員喺修正案中提出嘅建設性嘅意見，咁令到議案係更加充實。陳議員提到係北部都會區嘅交通配套係要兼顧打鼓嶺及沙頭角區嘅居民嘅出行嘅需要，係建議係北都公路係走線伸延到係打鼓嶺、蓮塘香園圍口岸和沙頭角口岸。咁我希望喺陳議員嘅建議基礎上將北都嘅公路嘅西邊嘅天水圍起點，再向西延多一點去到洪水橋、下村及屯門一帶，咁以便係將來可以接通屯門繞道同埋11號幹線，咁可以全面係貫通新界北係東西兩邊嘅脈絡，可以加強係各。
So as to provide the east-west connection between the Northern Metropolis and the Harbour Metropolis, and then we can enhance the transport capacity. Now, Shuttlecock and Takuling may be marginalized, but in fact, Tuen Mun hasn't been incorporated into the development of the Northern Metropolis. This goes to show that the government has overlooked the fact that Tuen Mun is a cultural hub, and also the role is going to play in connecting with Tianhai. I urge the administration to reconsider including Tuen Mun in the planning of Northern Metropolis. The Northern Metropolis has got 7 land cross boundary control points, and there will be 6 cross boundary control points. The only Shuttlecock remains without any railway link. And I also thank Mr. Chung-hung for his supplement. Indeed, the railway, the East Rail cannot cope with the future population growth. According to the Transport Department, the East Rail link is already 87% of its capacity. There will be new towns and also NDAs in Kutong North. Population will start to move in. There will be an additional 50,000 people living here, but then the Northern Link spur line will not be completed until 2037 and 2034 and Kutong 2027. And for other railways that are still on the drawing board, there is no commissioning time yet. So the government hasn't really implemented the infrastructure-led mode of development. As said by Mr. LAU, we must expedite the planning and study of various railway projects so that we can catch up with the pace of development of the new development areas. And during the interim, the government must expedite the completion of roads, and franchised buses and minibuses should provide additional routes to address the mobility needs of the residents, so they will not see a repetition of Lao Fushan. And some of the roads are not up to standard. The trunk roads of our rural areas are narrow. They may not allow emergency vehicles to go through. The government should take this opportunity to review the roads of the rural areas they should be widened. There should be the provision of railway tracks. Additional lanes should be added. Your time is up. Thank you. I thank Ms. Chen Yuet-ming and Mr. Chung-hung for their amendments. I urge members to support my motion.
Under Secretary for Development, Madam Deputy, I thank Mr. Kenneth LAU for moving the motion and Ms. Chen Yuet-ming and Mr. Michael LAU for their amendments. I also thank other members for putting forward their views during the debate. They offered valuable insights on the Northern Metropolis development, in particular on improving its transport networks. I will now give a brief reply on the overall planning and development of the Northern Metropolis. The Transport and Logistics Bureau will then elaborate on the specific transport infrastructure projects in the Northern Metropolis. The Northern Metropolis has strategic importance for Hong Kong. It will be a new engine which drives Hong Kong's future development and injects new impetus into our economy. With an abundant supply of land for I&T development, the Northern Metropolis will make possible the new industrial pattern of the South-North Finance I&T dual engine, helping Hong Kong become an international I&T center. The Northern Metropolis will also enable high-quality economic development between Hong Kong and the GBA cities, because it is close to the core districts and I&T bases in Shenzhen, where there is a powerful development momentum. There are 7 land crossings between the two places. Now, it will help Hong Kong tap the diversified opportunities brought about by the rapid developments of the GBA. We will dovetail with the national strategies under the National 14th Five-Year Plan and the outline development plan of the GBA in order to ride the development momentum brought about by these policies and engage in more comprehensive collaboration with other GBA cities. Together, we will make plans to unleash development potential and opportunities and enhance synergy to promote high-level collaboration and high-quality development in the GBA. So in making plans for the Northern Metropolis, we will make full use of the proposed transport infrastructure. Now, the Hung Shui-Kiu New Development Area in the Northern Metropolis enjoys close proximity with the Shenzhen Bay BCP. The Western Rail Link linking Hung Shui-Kiu and Qianhai, proposed under the strategic studies on railways and major roads beyond 2030, will connect the new development area with the Qianhai Cooperation Zone, forming a strategic transport corridor on the east coast of the Pearl River in the GBA. With its connectivity with Qianhai, the NDA will become a modern service industry center where the professional services, modern logistics and technology services industries can thrive. The Santi Technopole is another spotlight in the Northern Metropolis. It is connected with the Huanggang in Shenzhen through the Lok Ma Chau BCP and the Lok Ma Chau Spur Line BCP. The Santi Technopole will provide land for I&T developments. Together with the Shenzhen Innovation and Technology Park, a Shenzhen-Hong Kong I&T cooperation zone will be formed under the development pattern of one zone, two parks. The Northern Link and the stations under planning will link up the I&T land in the Santi Technopole, the Hong Kong Shenzhen Innovation and Technology Park in the Lok Ma Chau Loop, and Huanggang in Shenzhen. This will further enhance cross-boundary connectivity and promote exchange in I&T developments. Besides cross-boundary transport, the government also attaches importance to improving railway connectivity between the Northern Metropolis and other areas in the territory. There will be 2 new railway stations in the Northern Metropolis in 2027 and 2030, which are the Kutong Station and the Hung Shui-Kiu Station. They will serve the centers of the Kutong North NDA and the Hung Shui-Kiu Hashun NDA. And also, the town center in Yau Tam Mei and Ao Tau will also be served by the link connecting the areas with the existing East Rail Line and Chun Ma Line. This will greatly enhance the connectivity between the Northern Metropolis and other areas in the new territories and release the development potential. When planning the developments in Lo Wu and Man Kam To and the land use of new territories, north, that is Ta Kwu Ling, we will also take into account the Northern Link Eastern Extension and the newly proposed railway infrastructure to achieve maximum accessibility. The strategic studies on railways and major roads beyond 2030 also propose a central rail link plying between Kam Tin in Yuen Long and the Kowloon Tong Station, which will link up the existing East Rail Line and Kwun Tong Line. The central rail link will provide a direct rail link between the Northern Metropolis and Kowloon to drive population growth and employment for major development projects in the Northern Metropolis. Now, in the debate just now, some members mentioned the Northern Metropolis Highway. The highway is a preliminary proposal made by the Transport and Logistics Bureau under the Strategic Studies Beyond 2030. According to the present proposed alignment, the highway will ply between Tin Shui Wai and Lorwu South, passing through Santin and Lok Ma Chau and Kutong North. The highway will provide east-west connectivity for the Northern Metropolis to link up the NDAs and enhance the transport capacity for the area. Some members mentioned that planning for roads must dovetail with the land development and also consider traffic impact. Now, when planning NDAs, we will conduct traffic impact assessments and propose appropriate road construction and improvements projects on existing roads. The works projects will cater for the traffic demand brought about by new developments, while improving the traffic condition within the districts. For instance, in taking forward the Kutong North, Fanling North new development area, we have not only constructed the Fanling bypass, but also made improvements to the Pojek Ru Road and the Shogun Po roundabouts. Under the first phase development of Yulong South, new roads were built, and also the Tongyan Shenchun intersection was rebuilt, and the Sepbakheng intersection and certain sections of the Kongham Road were also improved. Some members mentioned that there should be transport infrastructure connecting the Northern Metropolis and the Harbour Metropolis. Under the KYC, the Khao Yichao Development Plan, we have proposed a group of strategic transport infrastructure, which includes a 30-kilometer-long railway connecting Island West and the Hongshui Q. It passes through Khao Yichao, Sunny Bay, and Tuen Mun East. The railway will be connected with the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Western Rail Link under planning. Also, we have proposed the 13-kilometer-long Hong Kong Island West Northeast Lantau Link. Under the preliminary design, the northern section of the road at the Khao Yichao Artificial Island will be connected with Route 11 and the Qingyi Lantau Link via an elevated bridge or tunnel. The link road will enable direct connection between the Northern Metropolis and the Harbour Metropolis without having to go through Kowloon. They will strengthen the connectivity between the Northern Metropolis, the Khao Yichao, and Hong Kong Island, shortening travel time between the Northern Metropolis and the Harbour Metropolis. Now, while taking forward new developments, we are not neglecting the rural road network. In planning new development areas in the Northern Metropolis, we will conduct planning studies and consult the relevant bureaus, departments, and local stakeholders on suitable improvement works on rural roads in the area. For instance, new roads built in the Kutong North, Fanling North new development areas also benefits the nearby Ho-Shang-Hung Shun, while the Yuen Long South development has improved rural roads like Wong Nai Tong Road, Kiu Heng Road, and certain sections along Long Hong Road. The government is taking forward the Northern Metropolis developments at full steam. Some major NDAs, including Kutong North, Fanling North, Hong Shui Kiu, Ha Chun, and Yuen Long South, are already at the work stage. Meanwhile, planning and feasibility studies are underway for new projects including the Santin Techno Pole, New Territories North New Town, Lorwu Ben Kam To, Lau Fao Shan, Chin Bei Choi Park Nai, and Ma Chou Long. The studies are expected to complete by 2024, after which the projects will enter the detailed design stage. In taking forward these projects, the Development Bureau will work closely with the Transport and Logistics Bureau in implementing the infrastructure-led principle, so that housing and economic development aligns with the layouts of major transport infrastructure and the commencement timetable, with a view to taking forward developments in the Northern Metropolis at full steam. Now, members also mentioned the streamlining of development procedures. Now, on development procedures in this regard, we have submitted legislative amendments bills in this regard for the Council's scrutiny. And also, the Development Bureau and other approval departments are reviewing on how we can streamline the administrative procedures in relation to development and adopt a more pro-development mindset in vetting applications. Now, finally, I thank members for putting forward their invaluable views during the debate. There were points in relation to provision of transport infrastructure in rural areas. Now, the Development Bureau will study these proposals carefully and work closely with the relevant bureaus so that we can make the Northern Metropolis into a livable city which is suitable for travel and work. Now, riding on this opportunity, we can strengthen the transport network in Hong Kong and enhance connectivity between Hong Kong and Shenzhen, further enhancing exchange and activities between the two places. We can complement each other with our strengths so that we can enter into the next phase of development and also inject new impetus for the GBA development. Thank you.
物流局局
Secretary for Transport and Logistics. Madam Deputy, just then 15 members have spoken on Mr. Kenneth LAU's motion and the amendments of Ms. Chen Yuet-ming and Mr. Michael LAU. Again, I thank members for their great comments. Just then, the Undersecretary for Development has replied to the points about the overall development of the Northern Metropolis. I will now address the points about the transport infrastructure project. For the Northern Metropolis, the transport infrastructure will feature railways as the backbone. In terms of cross-boundary rail links, we will be promoting the interconnectivity in the transport links in the GBA. The Hong Kong and Shenzhen government have set up the Task Force for Hong Kong-Shenzhen Cooperation on Cross-Boundary Railway Infrastructure. We want to build a GBA on the rail. There is also a technical group. The task force and the technical group have got started with a study on the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Western Railway Hongshui-Q to Qianhai. The first stage study wrapped up in late 2022. We established the strategic value and the necessity of the project. We also came up with a preliminary feasible plan. The project will link up Hongshui-Q Hachun New Development Area with Qianhai. This is to enhance the connectivity between the Northern Metropolis in Hong Kong and also the Guangzhou-Shenzhen Technological Innovation Corridor. And then we will have the roads to make sure that we set up this strategic node, the transport corridor on the east coast of the Pearl River. Now, on the planning, preliminary engineering feasibility, cost and benefits, environmental impact, we are looking into these areas. The study is due to conclude in mid-2024. The Northern Metropolis will be taken forward and the Huanggang Port will be redeveloped. The Northern Link Main Line and the Northern Link Spur Line will provide direct rail link between the Northern Metropolis and the new Huanggang Port. This is to enhance the link between the Northern Metropolis and the rest of the GBA. The proposed Northern Link will be 5.8 kilometers long. It will start with the Northern Link Main Line, Santine Station. It will go via the Santine Technopole, the Lok Ma Chau Loop, leading to the new Huanggang Port in Shenzhen. Now, apart from strengthening cross-boundary links, the infrastructure can also strengthen the transport links in the River Loop area. So for those in the GBA and visitors, that's one more option for them. We're also working through the task force and with the mainland and the MTR Corporation in taking forward the work. Our goal is that we can reach a consensus by 2024 on the Shenzhen section of the Northern Link. And we will also start the detailed planning and design by that time. We're also examining various options to make sure the project can meet the needs of the area. Now, on the Northern Link, after the Northern Link is done, and along with the East Rail Line and the 2 Mile Line, we will have a circular rail link connecting the New Territories and Kowloon urban areas. There will be better rail links in New Territories East and New Territories West. We will also release the potential of the land around Ngau Tau, Ngau Tamei, and Santine. Now, based on the progress of the Northern Link, we will start with the Lok Ma Chau Spur Line. We will start with the Kutong Station, and then we will connect the rest of the rail links to the main line. The detailed design of Kutong Station is substantially completed. The work is expected to start in the middle of this year, and it will be completed in 2027. This is to tie in with the population intake of the Kutong North new development areas. Now, for the main line of the Northern Link, we have to look at the complexity of the works, and we've considered the detailed design and time it takes. The work will start in 2025, and it will be completed in 2034. The government will be closely watching the progress of the works to ensure early completion so that it can be commissioned. Before the commissioning and completion, the relevant departments will be coordinating with the public transport operators, and they will look at the transport needs of the people who move in to ensure they can provide enough public transport services. The government has been arguing for a principle of infrastructure-led and capacity creating in its approach. This is to release the development potential of new development areas. The government will focus on the traffic bottlenecks in improving the transport networks to give people more commuting options and shorten journey time. It will adopt long-term thinking by supporting long-term development and meeting the transport and logistic needs of cross-boundary integration. The Northern Link, Route 11, Chung-hung Lantau Link, the Island West Hongshou Rail Link, the Island West Northeast Lantau Link. These projects are being taken forward or being planned. And once these railways and roads are completed, it will also be getting new trains and upgrade the signaling system. That will maximize the capacity of our current rail network. We expect that our rail and major road networks can substantially meet our short to medium term needs up to 2041. Most of our current and anticipated traffic bottlenecks can be relieved. In the long term, though, the East-West link in the Northern Metropolis and also the North-South link between the two metropolises, the other one being the Harbour Metropolis, and also the link between Chung-hung and the other areas, the transport demand is still keen. That's why the government has proposed 4 projects related to the Northern Metropolis: the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Western Rail Link, the Central Rail Link, the Northern Metropolis Highway, and the Shatin Bypass. This is to enhance the east-west links in the Northern Metropolis. After the public consultation, we're carefully studying the comments from members and the public. We looked at various options alignments. We're trying to improve the alignments of the 3 major roads and 3 rail links. We're working on the preliminary engineering feasibility studies so that in the 4th quarter this year, we can come up with a major transport infrastructure development blueprint that will help us guide our work as we take over the works. Route 11, Chung-hung Lantau Link, these are the ongoing projects. The strategic studies recommended 3 strategic roads and 3 rail links. There are also the strategic infrastructure related to the artificial islands, the Island West Hongshou Rail Link, Island West Lantau Northeast links, etc. Many members brought up the east-west extensions of the Northern Metropolis Highway and also the eastward extension of the Northern Link. As I said in my opening remarks, the Civil Engineering and Development Department and the Planning Department are working on the engineering studies on places like Park Lai, Chin Pei Chou. We've been working closely with the planning and the engineering teams in coming up with the transport infrastructure plans. Our goal is to try to take forward in parallel the proposed transport alignments and the planning land use. The planning and the studies are underway. We have to continue reviewing and adjusting the transport infrastructure plans. That's how we can provide swift and convenient transport services. At the appropriate time, we will announce the details of the transport infrastructure. On the Sha Tao Kok area, now we will look at the anticipated increase in population and jobs, and also we'll look at the long-term demand from the GBA transport, and then we will explore the kind of strategic transport needed. That's how we can ensure we can meet the transport need. Many members said we need to boost the speed with the transport projects. The government is taking forward various major transport infrastructure projects in an orderly manner. We consider the urgency of the project and also the land development potential it promises. We want to have these projects being taken forward in phases in an orderly way to ensure the sustained development of our rail networks. The government is trying to streamline the statutory and administrative procedures. We're cracking on with the work to speed up the transport projects. For each project, it comes with its own characteristics, such as the scope and the scale. So the savings we can achieve will vary. We're trying to shorten or streamline the procedures, and afterwards there will be shorter lead time. Now, with all the shortening, streamlining, the statutory and administrative procedures can be shortened for the advanced works. And then we will be adopting the new contractual procurement model. Say the developer can take part in the works design in the early stage. We make use of the latest technology. The developer can also take part in the advanced engineering design. That's how we can speed up the delivery of major transport projects. We'll implement the infrastructure-led principle. So even when the projects are still on the drawing board, we looked at the initial planning intention. We looked at the kind of transport needs in an area. And then before the population intake and before the transport need arises, we try to get the Transport Commission. Take the Chung-hung Area 137 as an example, and also the New Territories North New Town. That is the transport infrastructure and the land planning, both things go ahead in parallel. All in all, the government will look at the latest plans for the Northern Metropolis and then take forward the transport infrastructure project in an orderly way. We will stick to the infrastructure-led and capacity-creating principles to meet the long-term transport needs of the Northern Metropolis. I so submit. Thank you, Deputy.
I now call upon Ms. Chen Yuet-ming to move an amendment. President, I move my amendment. I propose to question to you that Ms. Chen Yuet-ming's amendment be passed. Will those in favor please raise their hands? Those against? I think the question is agreed by a majority of each of the two groups of members present. I declare the amendments passed. Mr. Chung-hung, as Ms. Chen Yuet-ming's amendment has been passed, you may move your further amendments. President, I move my further amendment. I propose to question to you that Mr. Chung-hung's further amendment be passed. Will those in favor please raise their hands? Those against? I think the question is agreed by a majority of each of the two groups of members present. I declare the amendment passed. Mr. Kenneth LAU, you have 2 minutes, 26 seconds to reply, then the debate will come to a close. Mr. Kenneth LAU. Thank you, President. I thank members for their high quality and valuable comments. I'd like to sum up this debate with 3 points. First, the government must make up for the lost time and review the timetable for completion of the Northern Metropolis and urge the relevant company to speed up so that we really stick to this infrastructure-led development model. And we need tremendous capital for the development. The government must suppress costs and consider various fundraising models to enhance cost effectiveness. Thirdly, the construction and engineering sectors are facing a labor crunch. They may not have enough manpower to take on the projects. The government must conduct an assessment as soon as possible to ensure that there is proper manpower deployment. With these remarks, I urge members to support my motion. And I'll put a question to you that Mr. Kenneth LAU's motion as amended by Ms. Chen Yuet-ming and Mr. Chung-hung be passed. Will those in favor please raise their hands? Those against? I think the question is agreed by a majority of each of the two groups of members present. I declare the motion as amended passed. The Council is now adjourned until the 24th of May 2023, Wednesday at 11 a.m.